Today, we're talking with Anu Shukla, co founder and executive chair of Botco AI, a truly inspirational serial entrepreneur who can get to the heart of tech company growth. Welcome to BeyondSaaS. I'm Jason Niedle, founder of Tethos. We're a growth agency, and we've been accelerating company growth through strategy, branding, lead generation, and conversion for about 20 years. If you're looking to grow, check out tethos.com/podcast for our paper on hypergrowth tactics from interviews like these. Or easier yet, just drop the word growth in the comments and I will message you. Today, I'm really excited to explore tech company growth with Anu. She is the co-founder and executive chair of Botco AI and has founded numerous companies, has experience in over $1 billion in exits, and is a pivotal leader, as I mentioned, at Botco AI, which is a platform that empowers businesses with AI-powered conversational engagement to streamline interactions. So think kind of instantly enabled AI gen chatbots that are more accurate than normal and do not hallucinate. And I hear you have a deep expertise in AI and digital transformation, an honorary doctorate, which is very impressive, and that you educate broadly, including supporting many women and underrepresented causes. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me and for that brief but very impactful introduction.
I'm excited. So I want to hear all about this, but before I forget, do you have a golden nugget for our listeners so they can get something right away?
I would just say that women networking is a really important thing that you should find time for. So recently I went to, say, a senior living community meetup, and I saw an AI robot offering that is meant to monitor seniors.
Mm.
And I met so many interesting people. Like, I would have never thought I would meet them at a retirement community, but I did. So when you get invited to or get an opportunity to participate in some of these events, take time off from your desk and your Zoom calls and go and meet people in person. I think post pandemic, we forget how important it is to build relationships. And I think I built more connections from that one meeting, plus found interesting technology that I would have never thought possible. So after that, which was about a month ago, my focus has very much been on let's have some in-person interactions. So bring back the in-person interaction is my golden nugget to you.
I love it. It's such an interesting through line too, because this is our first podcast we started a couple months ago. And in this idea of what is human and what is AI and how do we relate, because technologies is supercharging everything. And where is the time for in-person and where's the time for technology, I think is something that we're all going to be struggling with. And I'm really glad you brought up the idea of women, because it's been difficult for us to find women in tech for the podcast. And I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit that you're number one here.
Dear.
Happy for you, but embarrassed for me. And I want to know, why is it hard to find women in tech and what needs to change to get more women in leadership?
I've been dealing with this issue for a really long time. Like 20 years ago, we had an organization called Forum for Women Entrepreneurs, and which changed its name along the way to Watermark, but it had some of the early people in there. And we used to award a woman Entrepreneur of the Year every year and invite everybody to support women. So, people like Don Lepore, like really well-known people were brought to this and had a fabulous engagement. And we worked very hard on this issue of women entrepreneurs and women in executive leadership. And we just concluded that there's just not enough opportunities. Women made choices when they had families, and they found that more satisfying, maybe. Things like the internet, for example. When the internet came about, see, hey, there was a time when the internet actually arrived. That created a lot of women entrepreneurs because the barrier to entry was lower. So you didn't need like a huge amount of money. And even if you had a hobby, you could turn it into a business. People looked at that. And now with AI, I'm hoping the same thing happens, because AI is going to dramatically change the landscape of what's possible. Although it requires a lot of money, even with the inference models that are now becoming more popular, and you don't have to reinvent the LLM every single time. You can use what's out there. Maybe this will spawn more interest from women to jump in and take the risk, etc. So yes, it's, the representation of women has been typically low. And sometimes when you have these interesting waves and opportunities, on our part, I'm part of a group called the Elevate VC. And we only fund although, this is an unpopular concept, but we do fund underrepresented founders, and out of which women are definitely a group, along with many other different underrepresented founders that we support. So this is a targeted fund to make, a difference in sort of generational wealth for entrepreneurs, hoping that that then spawns more investment in other underrepresented founders. And there have been improvements in these various waves, and, it needs to continue to be focused on.
Yeah, on top of the structural benefits and assistance there's a really great arguments that it's just a good business sense and it's just a good business model. You find people who are working really hard, who have a different viewpoint than maybe you do and are willing to make something happen. So I think it's critical.
Yeah, and when you have like a representation of a mix of people, you generally get better results. That's why we encourage that in the companies that we even fund, that they have a diverse workforce because it's a better workforce.
So I see that you're the executive chair of Botco. It's an interesting to hear your story and how you're growing, either Botco or something else that's interesting for you.
Yeah. Well, I have gone from being a serial entrepreneur to a parallel entrepreneur. So I'm now involved in a variety of enterprises, but I have to say, like the limited partnership at Elevate VC and some of the educational work I'm doing, including every summer teaching a class in women leadership at Santa Clara University.
Mm.
And then I have some ventures in higher education, education of autistic children as well, called the Rising Stars Pet Academy. And yeah, a variety of interesting things. I sort of dabble in stuff. But Botco is definitely a main focus because it's so interesting to work with a great team of people. And it's very much what Beyond SaaS is all about, which is rather than focus only on the support aspects of enterprise AI chat, or, we have sales and inside sales and other AI agents that we build for our clients that allows them to do sort of better inbound, better outbound, and to take people to smooth out the customer journey and get them to a buying state, in a streamlined way.
With a bot.
Yeah, the AI bots, that's what we do. We have a platform that allows you to build them. And at the same time, we've done enough work in the platform to prevent hallucinations because enterprises can't really tolerate hallucinations, especially in healthcare. You can't tolerate lack of privacy and things like that. So whether you're launching an over-the-counter drug or you're marketing a prescription medicine, or you're letting people know that they can check into your facility for alcohol and drug addiction help for rehab, or whether it's capturing adverse events on a conversation about a new medicine or new over-the-counter drug that people are using. We do it all, and that's done through fine-tuning our models and creating chatbots that are really focused on getting you better engagement and getting people along the customer journey and getting them to actually buy your product, make an appointment, or whatever your CTA is.
It's amazing. So you have success in a lot of different fields, whether that's education or co-founding or venture capital. What is the heart of your role and what you do that differentiates you? What's your special talent and growth in all these companies? How are you making all this happen?
Well, I guess that other people will have to tell you what my special talent is. All I can tell you is that I enjoy working with smart, like minded people. I enjoy solving problems. I have a bias towards execution, so take action. So a lot of people have good ideas, and then I can't tell you how many conversations I've been through where they go, scented candles. Like, I thought about that, but then what did you do about it? Nothing. I just thought about it. Whereas in my case, if I say, how about if we could have a one-to-one conversation which is personalized using a chatbot that never goes to sleep? Yeah, I'm building it the next day. I also realize that nothing happens without a team. Just having a good team, surrounding yourself with a good team, and enabling them to be successful as well is very important. I would say my talent is probably a propensity for execution or action on certain ideas I have. Not all of them come to fruition. Like it seemed like a good idea. We go down the path and we go, you know what? It looks like it's not going to be as big, or it's not going to, we can't really solve it. It somehow it doesn't gel. So I will drop it. I'll drop it quickly so that I can move on to the next thing.
So you've had these startups, and then you've also been in a place where you're past startup and you're into mid stage and mature and exits. What needed to change in you as a leader, or what needs to change in you as a leader when you go from this startup phase to kind of mid stage or beyond?
Well, in the startup phase, you're literally doing everything yourself. And you're wearing multiple hats, and your focus is on getting this job done, whether you have to stay late and do it yourself. And working with a close team of people that usually understand you and understand your quirks, and they understand how to communicate with you, and you know how to communicate with them. So you don't have to spell it out to them, right? As you scale the company, you have to bring in people that are better than you. For example, I'm a good salesperson. I've sold some big deals, but I don't have the patience really to do the blocking and tackling for sales. Right? I'm a good strategic marketer. I can see the big picture. I can see positioning. I can define a strategy. I know some execution things that can be done that have worked in the past, but I don't have the patience to, really look at whether this sentence is right or not, and whether whether the image is placed correctly, with the right aspect ratio on the banner.
Hmm.
So you have to bring in people that are better than you, that know this stuff day in and out. So one, how do you attract a really great team? And secondly, how do you delegate to them? And don't be a controller, don't be a micromanager, but yet have, enough clarity in your communication so everybody's marching towards the right thing.
Mm,
So you really have to learn to scale yourself and to also let go when you scale a company.
I love that. So you mentioned bias for action, having a team with members that are better than you and delegating properly, clarity and communication. Those are all great. Is there anything else you wish to tell other leaders about how to grow a tech company or how to grow sales in a tech company?
You literally have to build a machine. It doesn't happen by itself. So you literally have to put in, what is my funnel look like? What am I doing to feed the top of the funnel? How am I moving people down the funnel? And how are we closing? And you have to have a good playbook for that that is communicated. And then what roles do people play? Who fills the top of the funnel? And you have to also learn in sales how to say no. I am guilty of this. I never met a deal that I didn't like, but they're simply wrong deals for the company. So you don't want to have a product that is an inch deep and a mile long. You want to basically have a product in SaaS which is very repeatable. So it's solving a problem, doing it the best, and doing it again and again, and not having a lot of variations from it, because that makes you into like a custom build shop and agency, which is not scalable. And the metrics of that are very
You're
different.
talking to the guy who built a non-scalable agency
Yeah, yeah. It can be profitable and it's very satisfying, but it's not scalable for a product company.
for sure.
In a product company, you have to have a set of features, and you're like, this is the problem I solve. This is what my ICP is, and just make it a repeatable process. That is what you have to learn, and you have to get that, product market fit, and then you scale. Like once you find it, it becomes a lot easier to sell, and you have to have build a book of repeatable business. And every time you go after stuff, which is like, okay, let's just add a video here, and what if we did this, and what if the customer needs what we want, but they also need this. And then you go and they don't really need what we want. They want something else. And then you're telling your engineers to build that for them. And they're the only customer in the world that'll ever want it. That is a disaster for companies.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what's Botco's growth goal in your favorite metric over the next 12 months? And what are you doing to get that?
So Botco has found some interesting scale, interesting vertical markets that we're expanding into. So we started off with sort of a broad focus around marketing and engagement chatbots, and then we focused into different verticals that were very niche, small, and now we have had some big ones. We've expanded into some big ones. So we really want to go after these, and they're all related to our core, which is healthcare and health benefits and addiction and things like that, mental health. So they're definitely in that, but we're expanding a little bit into pharma and clinical trials, for example, which are all related, and we're not building new products. But I find that there are bigger markets we can go after now and use our agents in those markets to solve like really big problems that involve not only AI, but also workflow, and, which is what we've done from day one. So it's a good match for us. So I think the goal of Botco's goal is to triple this year in revenue, and have a footprint in these burgeoning, applications where there's a big need.
Tripling is amazing.
Yes.
So if you had a magic wand, what's the obstacle that you would remove that's kind of slowing down growth or that's potentially preventing you from tripling?
I think that we would probably need to invest a little money. We've been very careful of being close to break even for a long time. But that means that you're sort of driven by your revenue and you don't really spend ahead of the revenue. I think that this year we may want to spend a little bit ahead of the revenue because we need to invest in some more work in our sales and marketing area, some more investment in that area so that we can scale into these new markets.
Is it getting out the top of the funnel? Is it getting things through the funnel? Like where do things kind of slow down?
All of it, all of it. I think we have to get the top of the funnel bigger. We have to get more qualified meetings, and we have to get more feet on the street, sort of closing the deals.
So if you step back and took a broad view, thinking about a lot of the organizations you've worked with, what is the common sales and marketing mistake or obstacle that people just aren't doing very well at? And why is that?
Well, one is, I mean, if you talk from a sales perspective,
Or marketing?
I think that salespeople, either they have the enterprise sales mindset or they don't. And one mistake that companies make is getting a salesperson who's really more of an SMB person and expecting them to run an enterprise sales cycle
Mm,
where you're really selling to 10 people and you've got to keep in mind compliance, IT, accounting, finance, and your buyer, right? And the application itself.
100%. Yeah.
So not all salespeople are used to running a cycle like that. So if you have an SMB guy that is used to a small velocity of deals, they're not always going to perform well in enterprise. So finding your right target and finding the right person that can go after that target is a big mistake that people make. They go, oh, this guy sells a lot, but what did he sell? He sold a bunch of, 10K deals over the phone. He's not going to go in and sell a big deal to Merck for 500K. It's not going to be possible. So you're going to sell it yourself, which is not scalable again.
Right. Has anything surprised you lately in sales and marketing? Something that either works better than you expected or just stopped working all of a sudden?
Well, something that works really well. So we have a typical program where we do the cold emails, we drive people to webinars, and then from webinars, we get them to a meeting, and then sales cycle starts, right? So it was very surprising to me. And one of the CTAs in the funnel is to get people first to a webinar, then follow up, and then get them to do a one-on-one meeting, right? Somebody came to our website, directly set up a meeting, and without going through any of the other steps. And then that meeting led to a very, very big sale.
Mm.
So we love
They
those.
skipped all the middle.
They skipped everything and they went straight to, I love those kind of surprises.
Yeah, that's actually interesting because I saw it on a small case. I went to somebody's site and I wanted their product and they wanted to talk to me. And I'm like, I already want it. Just tell me how much it is. Right. And it was 3 grand or something like that. But I just wanted the price and I wanted to know right away. I didn't want to go through that whole cycle. And so it is interesting. And then I had a client the other day that we were showing them the deck and he said the same thing to me. He's like, just get to the bottom line, you know? And I think it's interesting because sometimes you establish your value in a better way through that chain, but sometimes the people already want you and you have to just get out of the way, right?
I know, really. But
Yeah.
we love those kind of surprises. Like, talk about getting a qualified lead and closing it in one fell swoop,
Oof.
right?
Yeah, that's the
Why
best.
doesn't it happen more often, is my question.
Maybe you should explore that case and find out, right?
Right, I know.
So that's one type of lead. How are you guys getting leads in the funnel? You said cold email is one.
Yeah, we do cold emails. Of course, there's PR, so there's visibility. From things that we announce. We do some research reports, and those become the thing that we market as a something that fuels the CTA. Like if you want this report, kind of thing. And then we do these webinars on interesting topics with guests, and people attend those webinars. And often those that are interested in the topics are those that are qualified leads for us.
So in many ways, very traditional sales funnel, right? You PR and cold email, which people tell me all the time doesn't work, but I know it does,
It does.
right? Yeah. And then that goes to some sort of a lead magnet, like a research report or a
Yes,
webinar. And then from there, they're in your system and eventually you get a meeting and work on it.
that is correct.
And these are mostly enterprise deals,
These are all enterprise deals.
all enterprise.
Yeah, big
Awesome.
focus on enterprise deals. Yeah.
So I started this podcast not asking any questions about AI, and then every single person always asks or talks about AI. So I thought I might as well just throw that in there. What is something that we should know about AI, particularly as it relates to growing a tech company?
Well, AI, you should be using AI a lot. Everybody should be because it really saves you a lot of time, right? But AI is not auto magical. So learning how to use AI properly is a skill that people should invest in. So for example, you can't go to AI and say, make me a video about XYZ. You still have to have an idea of what you want in the video, what every scene should be. And then the AI, you have to work on different engineering prompts, etc., to get it to produce it and then stitch them all together, right? And then there are different LLMs that are better for certain types of images, others are not. Then there's multi-language. So knowing LLMs, knowing how to use them is important, but you can't forget the skill that you need to solve your own problem. Like you need to know the process of how to get there. So I am a big proponent of people using AI, but you also need different guardrails and different things that you implement in a flow. You want it integrated into your core systems. You want to eliminate any manual tasks from in between and streamline the whole thing. So you do have to have, again, this is self-serving for our platform because it solves all these issues. But this is what I live and breathe. So that's why I bring it up.
Yeah, you know. What advice would you give, let's say women in particular who are looking to become a tech leader or to become a CEO of any sort, really?
Well, there's different ways to get there. You can certainly rise up in the ranks of a medium or large organization and aim for being a CEO and do that by your accomplishments and by leaning in, as Sheryl Sandberg would say, and by getting the right mentors and producing the right results and working hard. And that's certainly a very satisfying path that many have taken and succeeded in. Sometimes you may have to leave your company to get that next role, and then don't worry about it. Try not to change your company and your industry in the same move, though it's harder. So if you stay in your industry and go for a bigger role, easier. If you change your industry and stay in the same role, easier. If you try to do both, might be harder. So, look at it. I followed a different path because I like to create things, something out of nothing. So I didn't wait for anybody to make me a CEO. I made myself the CEO, right? And now that I've been CEO multiple times, and of course I've been fired many times as a CEO as well, I actually don't like to be CEO.
Mm,
I like the role that I have right now. I think the things that are more interesting to me, like I can do six different things if I'm not the CEO of one thing. And that's what I like.
right. That's great. So the world feels pretty turbulent externally.
Does it?
How are right?
You trying to buy a car?
I could try to do anything and it's going to feel turbulent, I feel like, except getting on a call with you. That's not too turbulent. How do we plan to grow our companies? What trends do you see? What do we need to know to navigate through this turbulence?
First of all, don't make any sudden moves. That's always silly. Like I remember in the 2000s when the market was crashing and burning, people were, trying to rush out and do big things. And if you stick it out, it'll generally correct itself, right? You just have to have that time frame, right? Not everybody has like, I'll be okay in 10 years. I'll be okay in 20 years. Not everybody has 10 or 20 years to wait this out, right? So you have to make your rational decisions with your advisors on, say, stock market turbulence, right? That's a different matter. But every stock market person will tell you you shouldn't have knee-jerk reactions because the market ultimately corrects itself. But you might have a low tolerance for risk. So you go, okay, I'm going to just reduce my risk a little bit. And that's perfectly okay. Also, you may say, well, no, I understand I shouldn't have a knee-jerk reaction, but I'm very anxious. Solve your anxiety by taking the move that you need to take, whether the pundits tell you it's correct or not. If you're feeling uncomfortable, and you're better off in sitting in cash, do it. That's what I say. So don't listen to all this. It's your money. So that's one. It's your 401k. It's your money. So do whatever makes you, ultimately makes you feel better. Because life's too short to be anxious every day.
Hmm.
Secondly, I would say, wait and watch, because I think collectively nobody's going to put up with, bad times, high prices, no jobs for a long time. People will revolt. People will take action collectively, including you. And so, it will eventually correct itself unless we're headed for some kind of Armageddon, which I can't predict, right? I would protect myself, have plenty of cushion. Normally, if you keep like a 3-month cushion for money, you might want to extend that to a year. Have some safety nets and be aware of what's going on around you. And if your capital purchases are very expensive, delay them. So those just practical things for people to do, and then I like the fact that I'm always have been in the last 20 years in the position of giving jobs rather than needing jobs. So I'm encouraging AI is a great vehicle. I'm encouraging even if you have a full-time job, get a side gig. Get a side gig going. It's interesting and you can do it very easily using the powerful AI tools that are out there every day. And it helps you build your cushion.
And you're essentially diversifying yourself.
Diversify yourself. Yes.
Very
So those
interesting.
are all the things that will help you feel less anxious, will keep you safer, will protect you, and then of course be aware and involved always. So that's what I
And delete the news app off my phone.
well that alone, yeah, I mean you can be too obsessed with it. I like the governments where I don't have to worry about what they're doing.
Right? Stability, a common
Yeah,
predictability.
for me, it's like you're working there in the background and you're doing whatever you need to do. It's fine. I don't need to hear every day what you're thinking, you know? I mean, we pay you to go do your job. Just do your job.
Right.
Okay.
Well, Anu, this has been really informative, super interesting. Where can our audience find you?
Botco AI on our website. You can write to me there. Otherwise, my email is ashukla@botco.ai. I'm also on LinkedIn and I'm very responsive on all those channels.
Great. And Botco AI is just like it sounds, BOTCO.ai. So very
Correct.
easy to get
Yes.
to.
Yeah, and A Shukla is my email. So
SHUKLA.
correct.
All right. Anu, thank you so much for being on Beyond SaaS. For leaders in mid-stage tech looking to grow, we drop episodes twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you can find me, Jason Niedle, at tethos.com. That's TETHOS.com, where you can also grab our free report on how to grow your business at tethos.com/podcast. Of course, as always, drop any questions for me or future guests and comments and feedback. And don't forget to share this episode if it resonated with you today. Until next time, this is Beyond SaaS.